Good afternoon and welcome to the Midday News. Here's what we have in the bulletin. Public Health Department under scrutiny following Crab Circle closure. Renewed calls for barrier following Long Hill deadly crash. And later in sports, Harborview progresses to semi-final of CONCACAF Caribbean Cup despite losing final group game. Thank you for joining us. I'm Shane Masters and here are the details. In light of the public health breaches uncovered at Crab Circle, there's a view that it highlights a breakdown in the system that guards the health of consumers. It's why food safety specialist Dr. Martha Hewitt believes the Kingston and St. Tadge Public Health Department must be blamed. More in this report. Concerns were raised about vending at Crab Circle following a viral video showing unsanitary practices by a vendor. The Public Health Department has since ordered the venue shut. Chief Executive Officer of the Food Hygiene Bureau Jamaica, Dr. Martha Hewitt, says the issue is of major concern. However, she's laying blame at the feet of the Public Health Department for not being proactive in conducting inspections in the past.
What I would have liked to see is for the authorities, once they know that these high-risk premises exist, they should be actively doing surveillance and spot checks these places, unannounced inspections, taking samples of these food to identify contamination at very early stages, rather than having this knee-jerk approach.
She also wants a more rigorous process for granting food handlers permit.
The deficiency is that it's just based on a simple test. There's about 50 persons in the room, and how can you train 50 persons at a time? Sometimes more. And the training that is given and the exam that is given at the end to test, and then they're released into the public and to the public to cater for them. The thing is also that there's no measurement. For example, the permit is a generic permit. You get a permit to make sandwiches, and next thing you're opening up a lobster restaurant. That's the sort of thing we're talking about, where we need specific regulation to attach to the activities that we're doing, and we also need the documentation and the traceability, and also the authorities need to have a database of every single food businesses within the island.
In the meantime, she's calling for an overhaul of the system that controls the country's food supplies.
For example, this legislation itself, we're still operating in antiquated legislation. The Public Health Act is not comprehensive enough to deal with the food industry and the problems that we have with our food supply. Because the training, the health permit that we're basing our training on and releasing is not adequate education, also depend on the risk of the business. So I'm saying again, unless we get new food regulations that the officers can enforce, right, they're stuck with the Public Health Act and then the food handler's permit that is given to all and sundry.
Dr. Hewitt was speaking on Radio Jamaica's Beyond the Headlines yesterday. It was a disaster waiting to happen. That's how residents in St. James described a section of a Long Hill main road after a bus plunged into a gully on Thursday, leaving one dead and several others injured. On Friday, motorists returned to the scene to appeal for the government to erect barriers along the road. They explained that the risk of motor vehicle fatalities will increase if the matter is not addressed.
The minister needs to travel on the road. The minister needs to travel on the road and look on the road. And then just stay up Parliament talking and then come look what they're going on the road. And that's not tell us, see it there. When no farmer barrier to block the road. So what you expect? When a man come around and say, yeah, to me enough time, I come and stand and truck open up. And you have to know what you do, see it there.
It's bad, feel bad about it. Because the government need to fix up the road. Look at this barrier now. That's not no barrier. Look at that. No barrier now there, sir.
In the meantime, we unsuccessfully tried to get a response from the National Works Agency. To a TVJ News follow-up, the three people held in connection with the disappearance of East Kingston and Port Royal's MP Philip Paulwell's daughter and the child's mother are to be questioned today. The woman and 2 men were taken into custody last night. The 10-month-old Saraya Paulwell and her mother, 27-year-old Tashina Patterson, have been missing since September 9. They were last seen at their home on Gilmore Drive in Kingston 20. To a TVJ News follow-up after 2 days of protest, work has begun on the Jacks Hill Road in St. Andrew. Residents say they are satisfied that the authorities kept their promise.
From now on, we'll be doing the bushing of the road, the drains cleaning and everything, so we'll soon get some barber green on the road. That's what we really want. So it's step by step, and we're being patient and waiting as well. I really appreciate yourself.
An appeal this afternoon for investors regionally and internationally to pump more funds in Jamaica's healthcare sector, as there are significant benefits to be gained. Details in this report. Addressing the One Health conference in Montego Bay, St. James this week, Dean of the School of Public Health in Pittsburgh, Maureen Lichtfeld, says in the same way Jamaica is positioning itself to be a major player in the global logistics chain, the same should be done for health.
Jamaica sits really at the intersection, the pinnacle of the Caribbean. It has both the assets, but also importantly, it has the culture and the environment to show the rest of the world how One Health needs to be done. The threats that we're facing, whether it's dengue or other vector-borne diseases.
It's why she's calling on high-income countries to look towards Jamaica and other Caribbean territories as places to invest in.
It is critically important that we let our voices be heard, that we convince organizations, foundations, high-income countries where investment will get us most of the revenue. And so the return on the revenue, on the investment, is much more profitable if you invest where we can make a difference. And in Jamaica and in the Caribbean, we can make that difference.
As for the dengue outbreak, she's imploring the health ministry to use the data that is available.
Using data, we can use artificial intelligence to do predictive modeling so that we can anticipate and be ahead of the mosquito and be ahead of dengue. And so we can focus on where to clean up in people's backyards, where the mosquito grows, where the people live who are most vulnerable.
The conference has brought together health inspectors from the USA, Jamaica, and Canada. Health Minister Dr. Christopher Tufton has hailed the conference as a step in the right direction.
The theme of One Health is absolutely critical, because what it says is that we have to treat with health in a holistic way. Health is about the environment, health is about animals, it's about humans, it's about our development prospects, building codes, waste disposal. And COVID has taught us that. And therefore, what we're doing now is trying to bring everybody together to recognize the lessons that we have learned and to recalibrate to move forwards.
And it's time for a break here on the Midday News. Stay with us, more stories when we return. Welcome back to the Midday News. Councillor for the Landua Division in St. Thomas, Edwin Marr, is calling on the relevant authorities to act swiftly to correct a brewing sewage crisis in West Albion before it's too late. Karen Simpson has more in this report.
Unbearable. That's how residents of West Albion settlement in St. Thomas have described the stench that covers their community. They say the problem started some 5 months ago.
We have feces emanating just raw sewage, which should have been controlled by 3 agencies. Check, which is doing the road, the health department and the waste management unit of Water Commission. We are calling on them to immediately pay some attention to this situation, as it is the high time now for dengue and all of this. This cannot be something that the citizens of Albion should be cohabiting with.
The residents say the stench is unbearable.
I am 89.
89 years old?
Yes. And the stench killing me.
Stink, man, stay bad. Stay bad, boss. You want to fix up.
Councillor for the Landua Division, Edwin Marr, says the source of the problem can be traced back to the Poor Man's Corner housing developments.
The feces is actually coming from the phases 1, 2, and 3 that is in Poor Man's Corner, and it is piped to Albion, where there's this amount of ponds but because of the construction of the road, the pipe seems to have been disturbed. And because it has been disturbed and it was not mended, and half the feet is leaking from the pipe to this area, which is a normal drain and not a drain to facilitate this type of sewage water.
When contacted, Acting Corporate Public Relations Manager at the NWC, Delano Williams, says the issue was not brought to the attention of the agency. However, a team will be dispatched to conduct an assessment. Kerry-Ann Simpson, TVJ News.
And it's now time for the Business Minute. Managing Director of the International Monetary Fund, Kristalina Georgieva, says stronger demand for services and progress on lowering inflation have increased the chances that the global economy can escape recession. She says, however, fiscal and financial risks still remain. Ms. Georgieva says stubborn inflation means interest rates would have to remain higher for longer, and economic fragmentation threatened to hit emerging and developing economies hardest. OpenAI, the company behind ChatGPT, is exploring making its own artificial intelligence chips and has gone as far as evaluating a potential acquisition target, according to people familiar with the company's plans. The company has not yet decided to move ahead. However, since last year, it has discussed various options to solve the shortage of expensive AI chips that OpenAI relies on. These options have included building its own AI chip, working more closely with other chip makers including NVIDIA, and also diversifying its suppliers beyond NVIDIA. And that's it for the Business Minute. Time now for the top regional and international stories.
In the region, a new study has found that the crypto asset ecosystem in Latin America and the Caribbean has shown substantial growth, with the number of firms more than doubling since 2016. The landmark study by the Inter-American Development Bank (IDB) and the Cambridge Center for Alternative Finance (CCAF) at the University of Cambridge Judge Business School showed that over 170 crypto asset firms were serving the region in 2022, of which almost 100 were headquartered or incorporated in Latin America and the Caribbean. On the international scene, an 80-year-old boy is among 52 killed in a missile attack in one of the deadliest attacks since Russia invaded Ukraine some 20 months ago. Ukraine's defense ministry said every household from Ukraine's northwest eastern village of Rosa have been affected. It blamed Russia for the attack and said there were no military targets in the area. Russia has not directly commented on the strike. And Zimbabwe's government has introduced restrictions to control a cholera outbreak that is suspected to have killed more than 100 people. The measures include suspending some social gatherings and restricting the number of people allowed to attend funerals in areas affected by the outbreak. Shaking hands and serving food at funerals have also been banned. The health ministry had on Wednesday announced 100 suspected cholera deaths, 30 of which had been confirmed through laboratory tests. And those are the top regional and international stories. I'm Kerry-Ann Simpson.
And we head to a quick break. When we come back, Jeremy and Brown will have your midday sports report.